Mr. Tyner, and we're going to go ahead and set the rules that you call me Walt and I'm going to call you Kip because we've known each other forever. But we are starting a new podcast at the city where we're talking about things that are going on, things that matter within the city of Tuscaloosa. This is our inaugural podcast.
Right.
And who else would we get but the Kip Tyner, the mayor of Alberta?
The mayor of Alberta.
You got more titles than English Prince.
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you, you are the man.
Well,
and
you live long enough.
Absolutely. Now, tell people, most people know that you're Alberta born and bred, but your roots are deep in Alberta. Talk about that for a second.
Absolutely. I'm back living in the house that I was born in now.
Really?
Yes. And except for roughly 2.5 years that I was in Washington and about a year at Emory in Atlanta, I've been in Alberta, or this district, my entire life.
Wow.
So, yes, born and bred here. I went to Alberta Elementary School, the old Eastwood Junior High, Tuscaloosa High, and then University of Alabama.
So now, at the University of Alabama, you had a connection to Coach Bryant, didn't you?
Very much so.
Now, tell people about that connection.
Well,
most people don't know.
He paid for my entire college education,
Wow.
every penny. When I had an opportunity to actually go to Auburn on a full scholarship.
Now, that's in southeast Georgia,
somewhere down
southwest
there.
Georgia?
Yeah, it's what
okay.
Georgia. I went and visited, and I couldn't take it. I said, I cannot take this orange.
Yeah.
So I came back to Alabama because I was told that there was a possibility for another scholarship, but it would be after my first semester. So it turned out, but I had to make a certain grade, a GPA, and I did. And then I was told I was on a full academic scholarship. I didn't know the recipient or anything. I just started, they said, you need to report here, and I reported to the athletic department and worked there for almost 3.5 years, close to 4. And in the end, after I got my degree, I found out that I was the recipient of the Paul W. Bryant Scholarship.
That's amazing.
They wanted more people to work in sports information in the media side, but they didn't have a budget for it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Not like today.
Oh, no, I can't.
And so myself and an African-American friend of mine, Sam Hughes, he gave 2 scholarships, and I was one of them. Books, fees, everything was paid for. I paid for nothing, my entire college experience. But Coach Bryant only wanted it to be revealed after the degree.
That is, you hear so many, growing up here like you hear so many Coach Bryant stories, and that's just of generosity, and that's just one of the many.
And that is why when it came to the new school that I wanted to name it Paul Bryant High School.
Well, that certainly makes a lot of sense.
Because I just felt like I wanted to give just something back to someone who did so much for me.
Yeah.
And of course, after the blessings of the Bryant family, it's it happened thanks to Dr. Louis Crawford. But anyway, that was the origin behind wanting to name it after Bryant High School, kind of a personal thing.
Well, now I've got to make this difficult transition from Paul Bryant to Susan Lucci. Okay.
Yes.
I think at inauguration you had the line when you said you felt like Susan Lucci, and explain to people why you said that.
Susan Lucci, by the way, my brother was just in love with Susan Lucci for years, and I never actually watched that soap.
Yeah.
But she had 17 nominations before she finally won an Emmy. So after 7 elections, I felt like Susan Lucci because I finally got the president of the city council. And so that just immediately came to mind when I thought I was going to be the president of the council, that I know how Susan Lucci felt. It was a long time coming, but it was sweet.
Well, I think it was well-deserved, and people need to know it was unanimous. It was a unanimous selection.
I told Jason Morton yesterday, who wasn't at the meeting, I said it was because he was there 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I said, I think one of the great things about that day is that everything was unanimous. I mean, we only had 1 vote on every chairman of the committees. And
for people who don't know the inside baseball of City Hall and politics, that's remarkable.
And I worked really hard that weekend before to talk to everybody and say, this committee, that committee. And we only had two, and they were just members contested. And that's when I said, Walt, this is going to be special. This council is going to be special because people, I think, are there for the right reasons.
Well, and I even felt yesterday at the council meeting, there was a different vibe, a very constructive vibe, and I sense your feeling as well with this. And
I texted them all in a group text last night and said, I haven't felt this great in 24 years.
Yeah. Because
I really believe that this council, every person is down there for the right reasons. I think they're down there to represent the people.
Now, beyond your role as council president, which is in and of itself more and more duties, and I know firsthand from working with Mr. Taylor and Ms. Allman and now yourself, you're still the representative of District 5. We're right here at Wright's Restaurant, which is an amazing place. If you've never been, you need to come to Wright's Restaurant.
It's iconic.
It is iconic, and but for your district over the next 4 years, what do you want to accomplish?
Sidewalks.
Let me guess, from Crescent East down?
Yeah, absolutely. You and I have talked about this so much. We've got, and David Griffin, the last time I saw David Griffin actually was here.
Really?
With Mary Alton. And David said this was probably, if not first, the second most needed sidewalks in the city. Because any time of the day when you leave here, you'll see people walking in the ditches. And so thanks to you, and you and I have met about this so often, we're on track now to get those sidewalks from Arcadia to Crescent Ridge Road, and it's going to make a tremendous difference. In fact, I meant to present last night. I've got over 1,000 signatures that were just recently taken by Alberta Baptist membership that went through Alberta for these sidewalks. Everybody recognizes there. So I think, that is huge, but Alberta's about to explode. I really feel that. Brendan Moore, Audrey, Buck with the city, they tell me that basically 3 out of every 4 calls right now are people looking for places in Alberta.
Well, and we're going to talk about April 27th in just a second, but talk about SWJ and what that meant, because I know you put your heart and soul into SWJ.
At my age, I grew up.
Yeah.
I absolutely grew up from the day I got a call that was even a possibility.
Really?
And, about 10 months.
I know.
And I'm telling you, Walt, I didn't even tell anybody for the first month because I was so afraid somebody's going to try to take it away from me.
Well, they knew in Greenville and Chattanooga.
Exactly.
And that was our competition.
Well, I've told this story many times that we were definitely a long shot of it ever happening. But thank goodness for the tennis center.
Yeah.
Wolfgang fell in love with Alberta. And for people who
Wolfgang Kinnear, the head of SWJ.
Kinnear, yes, thank you. And people say, people are, you got a lot of cynical folks who said, what's a water fountain? What are palm trees? Which everybody knows I love.
Why do we need a tennis center? And
right. We got SWJ. Wolfgang said he loved the Europeans. I think have more of a love for beautiful, pretty things. And Wolfgang talked about his office looking over the fountain and the palm trees, and now his office looks over over that.
It's reality now.
It is, and then he's an avid tennis player, which he would have never known Alberta otherwise. Which I really give you credit for that, because when the tennis folks wanted a new tennis stadium or something, they came to us all the time. It was you who said, well, we're going to do this, but it's going to be in Alberta. Yeah, and that wasn't popular.
It wasn't at the time, but it was.
But it is now.
It is now, and everything that's coalesced around it. So that's a very good segue into talking about one of the most memorable of the days in a tragic way is April 27, 2011. Now, your district was in 65% of Alberta.
65%. Chris England told me that.
Was destroyed
shortly afterwards.
But you have a personal story too, and I'd like just people to know what you personally went through that day, and then we'll talk about recovery.
Well, I left my house. I went to the office where my mom was, in my office, and my dogs were, and it's time to go. You know, I've been doing the weather for a lot of years, and this is one time I felt very uncomfortable. And my mother's the kind, she says, it's not 5 o'clock. My mother, you don't leave till 5 o'clock. I say, well, you are today. And so that monster was actually following me the whole time, because I left my house, went to the office, went to her house, which was hit as well. But of course, on that day, I lost my house, and then lost the office, lost my parents' business, completely destroyed. Which what people don't realize, and still to this day, my parents, over 60 years with Tuscaloosa Exterminating Service, they lost over 40 monthly customers that day. 40 times $35 a month is huge.
Yeah.
And so they're still, trying to recover from that today. But I was when I left I came outside my mom's house, and it was like I was just shocked. First thing I saw was looting. Yeah. Unfortunately, further up the little road from one of you drive 2 dead bodies, and as I got further down toward Alberta Baptist, it was just, I think I kind of went into shock a little bit.
Yeah.
I did a funny story. I told a guy who was looting, and I knew him. I said, you need to go put that beer back. He's laughing. I said, I'm going to tell your mama.
Did he put the beer back?
He put the beer back.
Hey, how about that?
He didn't care about the police, but don't tell my mama.
The power of mama. You never underestimate it.
So, it was the day I'll never forget, the screaming, the hollering, the running, the crying, the smell of gas. Every time somebody would hear that, they think the gas line was going to erupt. The active power lines. And
we couldn't get in touch with you, and you know this. We thought you were dead.
That's right. I was on that list.
You were on our you and former Mayor Al DuPont, whose house was destroyed, and he was out of town. But as we know, we couldn't get in contact with anyone.
I know, and I was right there, and then in the middle of it, and people. I had some people tell me, I'm so sorry about your house, and I'm going like, well, I was thinking my mom's house, because it was damaged, about $50,000 damage, but anyway, I found out later it was my actual house, and how I guess word spread somehow, but I had no idea until the second day I went to go. I finally found out, and indeed, but the funny story, my house made the cover of Sports Illustrated.
That was your house?
That was my house.
Wow! So you finally made the cover of Sports Illustrated.
The cover of Sports Illustrated.
It's a hell of a way to make the cover.
I wish they'd shown the back, because the back of my house looked like a Barbie house. Barbie houses are wide open. Because from the front it was battered.
Wow!
And but the back of it was completely wiped out.
That is, it's again, we talk about going through April 27th, but not only did you have to live through it personally, then you have to come in as a policymaker and make tough decisions, and so we don't run out of time. And I know we're going to jump through some things, but the reason why Alberta is poised now 10 years later is because we made some difficult decisions. We invested in infrastructure, and now you got an SWJ, and now we're about to have a new $4 million Chevron gas station that's about to open up, and that's just going to be the beginning of what we're going to see. And
I believe that.
You have to be proud.
Well, you remember that area now, I think about it, where SWJ is, that's where 7% of the city's crime was. 7%, the entire city was right where SWJ is now.
Yeah.
And to think about a North American headquarters of International German Company, where before it was the most crime-ridden areas in the city.
And look at Juanita Drive behind it.
I don't think there's ever a bigger transformation.
Yeah, and it's something I think we both can be proud of. Wherever public service takes us, that's something I think we can both be proud of.
No question.
Now we're going to transition to some fun. We're going to wrap up with some rapid-fire fun things.
Good.
Okay, you ready?
That's what I love. I'm in my wheelhouse now.
you ready for some hard-hitting journalism?
Yeah, I am.
All right, first question. When did you realize that you were a local celebrity?
Well, I tell people when they say, "Oh, look, a celebrity's coming," I say, "Well, I'll hang around and wait and see who it is." I think one of the funniest stories was there's two things. One, I was in Bruno's and someone said, "Oh, are you here buying that for Scoop?" They knew my dog's name from TV, so I thought they know my dog's name.
Thank you.
But second, I had a local dentist who was in Los Angeles at a convention, and he was with his daughter and their friends. They had some friends going, and they said, "Oh, look," they were just being little girls. "Look, there's Beyonce. Oh, there's Beyonce. You know, there's I'm not big on Hollywood, but there was names and all these celebrities." And the little girl said, "Oh, and there's Kip Tyner." And the little girl said, "Who's Kip Tyner?" 'Cause she was from California. She had no idea who Kip Tyner was. I thought that was pretty cute.
See, I'm jealous. I went through a Zaxby's, and the person said, "We know who you are." And I'm like, she said, "You're Wes Wyatt." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, yes, I am."
Yeah, that's me.
And the next time we came through, she said, "You're Wes." She said, So,
I'll tell you one thing. If you want to run for political office, be a weather-man for 16 years.
And that gets me to my next question. Tell the truth. Can you really forecast the weather?
Absolutely. I can run circles around James Spann to this day. And
can we challenge y'all to a meteorology duel?
I love it because James's mother, and I love James. We went off through school together. We worked. He actually was ahead of me in radio, ahead of me at Channel 33, even though he was a year younger than me, behind me in school. But James, his mother was my homeroom teacher in high school. And James had this great voice, you know, and just a great voice. He's a great person.
He is. But now y'all both have your homes hit by tornadoes.
Exactly right. We got something else in common.
I know.
But you know, the funny thing about what they call them, I kind of laugh about chief meteorologists. Mm-hmm. There's no chief meteorologist. They're just the oldest person forecasting the weather. And
well, we do titles at City Hall too.
Do titles.
So,
and you know, and everybody gets their information from the same place. That's the National Weather Service. But I kind of get a kick out of, because look, when I started doing the weather, I had magnets, and I put magnets on the wall. I'd throw a sun up. It's gonna be sunny today.
Did you catch a lot of grief for when the weather forecast didn't exactly go the way you predicted?
All the time, especially from mamas they would have weddings in April in Alabama and then blame me when it rained or stormed. I mean, going like, you plan an outdoor wedding in April in Tuscaloosa, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I kid about that because it was the only job I ever had that I still got paid for, missing the forecast very often.
Who's the most underrated meteorologist?
Jerry Tracy.
Really? What makes you say that out of curiosity?
He's just one of the nicest guys he's just one of the nicest guys I've ever known.
Really?
And hey,
good morning.
How are you? Good
Good.
morning. Jerry Tracy, I was a little starstruck. I met him at the 10th anniversary, first time I've ever met him. And Mike Royer was the weatherman for many years in Birmingham. But Jerry Tracy is so consistent. He's calm. I like a calm weatherman.
Yeah.
And I never was alarming. I felt like I never tried to alarm people when I was doing the forecast. But Jerry Tracy has been doing it for as long as anybody in Birmingham, and I just think he's probably the most underrated.
Okay. So 2 quick questions. Why do you get mad when people say Alberta City?
Because they're wrong.
Tell them why they're wrong.
It's a fraud. If you look like Mark Cobb did the best story on
it. Was great.
And see, he did the whole story. He did major research into Alberta. If you think about it, Alberta Elementary, Alberta Baptist, Alberta Methodist, Alberta Shopping Center, Alberta Grocery, Alberta Drugstore, nothing says Alberta City.
Yeah.
Because when my mother was born in 1931, it was Alberta. And I was born in 1955, it's Alberta. And it drives me crazy when people, and I think because first it's not accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and I get a lot of grief, you know, about it, and I try to stay off Facebook about it because, in fact, somebody said Alberta City and I just deleted the whole post because I'm tired of that argument.
Yeah.
Because, and I've got original documents of Arcadia and other places that said areas herein known as Alberta, and Mayor DuPont said that when Alberta by the way, it's so interesting. Alberta was almost as large as the city of Tuscaloosa.
I didn't know that till I read Mark's article that was in the paper. That was fascinating.
It was, and so Alberta was, and of course, and then Alberta was named after Grigsby Wright's daughter. They had 7 kids, 6 boys and a girl, and her name was Alberta. Her name was not Alberta City, but Mayor DuPont said, and I think it's probably accurate, that once Alberta was annexed into the city, people started saying Alberta City.
Got you. That would make a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
All right, last question. Why so many cats, Kip? What's going on, man?
I just dropped off. Listen, people won't believe this. I'm such a dog person. I love dogs. Just love dogs. And I get in trouble. I love animals sometimes, I think, more than I do people.
Yeah.
Because they're always so happy to see you, and they're so but after I came back from my cancer treatments, I had 2 cats that showed up in my house. They were just there, and it turned out they were abandoned. Their owners moved off and left them. And I'm going like, I've never mistreated a cat, never would, but I've never owned one.
Yeah.
If you haven't owned a cat, you're missing out on so much. They are the most fascinating creatures I've ever been around. They're so smart, and so I started doing animal rescue. I found off the side of the road, I found one in a major thunderstorm that had been hit by a car. I got out of the car and got the cat, and so everyone has a story, and I take them, get them spayed and neutered, and I name them. And once I've named them, they're mine. But no more cats, people. Every day, just about somebody says, so and so has a cat and needs a home. I said, nope, no more.
Yeah.
But
you've been a very generous soul. It's amazing.
I just love animals, and the people. I found out one thing. I think people love cats more than dogs, because I went for 3 months when I had my spine injury. I didn't have to buy any food. People left loads of cat food on my front porch.
Well, I think that has more to do with you and your service to our community than it does cats. But this has been a lot of fun.
This has been great.
And
we could go on forever.
I know, and now we get a chance to eat a great breakfast right here at Wright's Restaurant in District 5. That was part of the recovery, something that we both support.
And this is a great story right here, in that they lost everything in the tornado
and came back, and this place is busy, and it is 9:30. This is not like we're here at 7:30. It's 9:30, and this place has been packed ever since we've been here. So, well, thank you, Council President Tyner, for this inaugural.
Say that again.
Council President Tyner. Hey, it's yours for 4 years. Enjoy it today, because we're only about 2 days in. Probably about a year from now, it may be seem more of a burden.
I know. I almost resigned like 2 days before, because it's been like, but I love it. And let me tell you this. I just love our relationship. You and I are probably the most honest with each other.
Yeah.
And when we disagree, we know that our hearts
absolutely.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. And I wish that I think Washington and other places could learn from me and you, actually.
Absolutely.
Because and I think this council coming in has the potential to be the best city council in the history of this city, because I believe that everyone right now is down there for the right reasons.
I absolutely agree, and the future is definitely ours to shape. We're going to shape it together. I appreciate you, Council President Tyner, and I appreciate everyone listening in to our first podcast.
Absolutely, I'm excited, and come to Alberta, live, shop, everything.
Yep, come on down. Kip will even welcome you personally.
I will do that. I told Wolfgang
Don't
I'll
you
have
love it when I commit you to
parade
something?
every day.
All right, everybody have a great day, and thank you for joining us.